Oh man, this is this is so fun.
This is an M08 concept. Although it's in the name, it in fact is not a concept. It is very much being produced and attainable. Perhaps the name is a clue to what the future holds. Only time will tell. A mini chassis made by Tamiya Model Co. It's mini because the industry standard is 257 millimeters for 1/10 touring car wheelbases. The wheelbase for these minis, however, are one of three options: an agile 210 millimeters, a very standard 225 millimeters, or the highly stable longest option, 239 millimeters. Never before has Tamiya designed a race-oriented rear-wheel drive mini chassis. They've had three other rear-wheel drive mini options, the M02, M04, and M06, which are very fun and capable, but none as capable as this one. By now I've run this car through more than 25 packs on carpet. I've understeered into numerous barriers, I've rolled and flipped to my heart's content. And yet nothing has broken. Needlessly said, this body has done its fair share of protecting the car underneath. I have no true reason for making this video. I just wanted to share with anybody willing, and myself, the feelings I have towards this vehicle. A show and tell, or a journal entry if you must label this.
14-7. 13-7.
On to the actual car now. Why is it race-oriented? Well, because it's one of the few Tamiya minis that offers adjustable camber, toe, ride height, droop, and Ackerman, just to name a few, directly from the box. This car doesn't seem to be getting the love it could be. I wonder if one of the reasons could be that it only comes as a kit, without electronics. You even have to provide your own body. But it does, however, come with very nice multi-spoke wheels. But you'll have to provide your own tires. With that said, it was perfect for me. I intended to use this on track with the track-sold wheels and tires. I had my own idea for body anyways, and I also had my own electronics to run in the kit, so it was a match made in heaven for me. Now, I normally wouldn't have picked a rear-wheel drive car. My experience with rear-wheel drive on-road up until this year was all parking lot. Dusty, bumpy, cracked parking lots. So you can imagine why it never came to my mind before. But I saw guys running F1 in 1/12 pan car, and I was given the opportunity to drive them on the carpet track. And boy was I ever flabbergasted at the amount of traction they had. Looping out was near impossible. Of course, those are cars that have been set up and raced, so they've proven themselves already. Well, I pulled up my big boy pants and brought my Tamiya F103 GT out to the track. Expecting to loop and oversteer immediately, I was met with quite the complete opposite. It was a bullet train on rails. Running a Tamiya Sport Tune motor may have been a mistake on my part. I was in over my head and my reaction just wasn't quick enough to keep me out of the wall. Being that the car was so fragile, it broke and made me put it back on display for the next time when I can react fast enough and get parts for it. Well, many months later, I've been trying to enjoy my M05 on carpet track, but I didn't have a lot of fun in the beginning. We'll get into that in another video. The track that I go to is looking for more participants in their mini class, and I really was interested in giving it a go. But I knew I wanted a rear-wheel drive if I ever got another mini chassis. The other option, which is very, very popular for mini racers, is the front-wheel drive M07. But again, I didn't want a front-wheel drive mini. I wanted to try a rear-wheel drive. The M06 was also up on the chopping block, but it got chopped in favor of the mid-mounted motor, which really caught my eye on this one, the M08. So I called up my hobby shop, and a week later, my M08 has arrived. Building it was very fun and incredibly simple. That doesn't mean it didn't take me long. It actually took me all day. Build video coming. But simple in the matter that nothing went wrong. Not too many areas where you can make a mistake if you're following the instructions. But I did choose to make a few key changes, and I'll go through them. I chose to go with the 225mm wheelbase, as that suited my Express Subaru BRZ body that I went with. Luckily, it's also the wheelbase of choice by the mini racers. Another thing I did different was opted to not use the stock diff oil, which I can only assume was between 5 to 10K weight. It seemed a little light, so I went with 30,000 weight oil, much higher, just to go to the extreme end to see what it would do. Much thicker, ensuring the car was more likely to push out of the corners. The last change before hitting the track was putting Tamiya yellow springs up front and Tamiya blue springs in the rear. And that should be a lot stiffer in the front and a lot stiffer in the rear than the stock springs. The mossy colored springs that come with the car are very, very soft. Once I first put the car on track, it was such a joy to drive. And this time, my concept of rear-wheel drive was changed forever. The way it plowed through the straight sections, to a point where I started scrubbing speed with slip angle just to reach for the apex, applying throttle inputs ever so gently as to not upset the back end. And finding my direction change limits provoked me to purchase and install a sway bar kit. Blue bars is what I installed, stiff ones, front and rear, to keep it flat so I stopped lifting the inside wheels. Enough giving away the track adventure, that's in the track footage. I've made many changes over the course of track days, but the greatest changes I've made were the changes to my driving. This car has forced me to realize how abrupt my inputs were to the transmitter. This car has made me excited to be on the very edge of spinning out because it feels so good. So good I can't even stop talking about it. I will leave this video with my current setup, which is guaranteed to change with time. At the moment of making this video, it's running a Hobbywing 1060 BL centered ESC hooked up to an Orion VST2 17.5 centered brushless motor, which is using the 22-tooth pinion gear. Up front, taking care of steering, is a Savox 1251 MG servo. All of that is controlled by a Futaba 4PK system with a capacitor added on. On to the chassis. The rear and only differential is currently running 30,000 weight oil. I'd like to try 20,000 for more rotation. I'm using a stock Tamiya hard damper oil in the dampers, Tamiya blue softish springs out back, and yellow hardish springs up front. I'm running 3.2 degrees of rear toe in, and 1.2 degrees of front toe out, 1.3 degrees of camber in the rear, and 1 degree of camber in the front. Droop is set so that the suspension arms are level. Sweep angles, anti-squat, and pro squat are not adjustable on this car at the moment. I hope you enjoyed my M08 journal entry, and if you're into it, go check out my raw footage. Peace out, guys.
What?